Imagine waking up one morning to find that the world's longest unsecured border has just vanished. Not because of a new wall or a diplomatic crisis, but because one historic offer could make Canada the 51st state of the United States overnight. Sounds like the plot of a techno thriller? Well, buckle up. Because this scenario isn't just political fan fiction, it's part of a seismic proposal currently on the table, and it could redefine the economic and security landscape of North America for generations. On a Tuesday that started like any other, former U.S. President Donald Trump reignited an idea that has stunned both allies and adversaries: an open offer for Canada to join America's cutting-edge Golden Dome missile defense system for a price. Here's the catch. If Canada wants to participate as an equal partner, it'll have to pay a colossal $61 billion. But if it agrees to join the United States as its 51st state, the bill is wiped clean, $0. A deal only a master negotiator could dream up. Or could it actually be a geopolitical Trojan horse? As the proposal ricochets through newsrooms and parliaments, Canadians and Americans alike are asking, is this about defense or something much bigger? Could a 150-year-old national identity be up for sale in the name of security and technological supremacy? Let's break down what's really at stake. The Golden Dome missile defense system. Announced amid growing concerns over global instability and the weaponization of space, the Golden Dome is slated to be the most ambitious missile shield in history. Inspired by Israel's multi-layered air defense, America's version goes further, envisioning a future where U.S. weapons orbit the Earth, scanning and intercepting hostile missiles at every conceivable stage. Trump, with characteristic bravado, claims that the Golden Dome will be operational by 2029, during what he expects to be his future second term. In reality, experts project a much longer timeline and an even more astronomical price tag. The Congressional Budget Office estimates that the space-based portions could escalate costs to $542 billion over 2 decades. That's more than the GDP of many countries. Yet the ambition doesn't stop at American shores. Trump's message to Canada is unambiguous. Pay $61 billion to join the shield, or merge your future with America's and get protection for free. On the surface, it's a stark choice between costly security and surrendering sovereignty. But the devil, as always, is in the details. Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney hasn't minced words. While acknowledging high-level talks about missile defense, he drew a red line on sovereignty. My country was never for sale. This one-liner immediately resonated with Canadians, for whom national identity is a sensitive subject. But beneath the surface, both governments are clearly aware that the stakes go far beyond national pride. Why is this such a big deal? For one, Canada and the U.S. are already deeply intertwined on defense. Both are NATO allies and partners in NORAD, the North American Aerospace Defense Command, a joint organization that keeps round-the-clock tabs on everything entering North American airspace. If the status quo already delivers mutual protection, why the push for a separate megabucks Golden Dome partnership? To answer this, consider the shifting tectonics of global security. Hypersonic missiles, artificial intelligence, and the militarization of space are rewriting the rules of warfare. Traditional defense treaties and radar systems are starting to look, frankly, obsolete. In the harsh new reality of 21st century conflict, milliseconds count. A silo in Siberia fires, a satellite in orbit beams, an urban skyline shivers in anticipation of the unimaginable. Trump's Golden Dome isn't just about more missiles or radars. It's a vision of perpetual technological dominance in the skies above North America, and potentially the world. For Canada, the implications are staggering. As the only G7 country with a 5,500-mile land border with the U.S., Canada has always benefited from the American security umbrella. But with rising tensions from Russia and China, the question is no longer whether to invest in new defenses, but how to do so, without becoming a pawn in someone else's chess game. Carney's government isn't idle. Just recently, Canada inked a $6 billion deal with Australia to build a next-gen Arctic radar system, an effort to secure its vulnerable northern frontier. But this is small change compared to what's being demanded by the U.S. Putting weapons in space is a line humanity has avoided for decades, warns Alistair Edgar, political science professor at Wilfrid Laurier University. If the U.S. and Canada move ahead, they're not just inviting new technology, they're inviting retaliation. These words are chilling, but they highlight a crucial dilemma. Is the promise of safety inside the Golden Dome worth the risk of escalating a new arms race in space? And perhaps more provocatively, is joining with America, politically or militarily, truly the only choice? Let's pan out. Since the Cold War, NORAD has been the gold standard of continental defense, a tangible example of trust and partnership rarely seen in international relations. It's cooperative, not coercive. While the U.S. provides the muscle, Canada offers vast surveillance networks across the Arctic, a region that's becoming the new front line in global power competition as polar ice melts. Yet, NORAD has limitations. Hypersonic missiles and advanced cyber warfare tools can render early warning systems almost irrelevant. With adversaries like China and Russia developing ever faster projectiles, the continent needs defenses that can intercept threats at the speed of light. Enter the Golden Dome, a layered, space-based web of satellites and interceptors that promises to detect and destroy missiles at all 4 stages of a potential attack, as described in the official briefing. It's ambitious, to say the least, and it doesn't come cheap. $175 billion is the sticker price for the initial phase alone. To participate, Canada is being asked to front $61 billion, a sum that dwarfs its entire annual defense budget. The economic implications are jaw-dropping. Where would this money come from? What projects or social programs would be cut or delayed? And, here's the kicker, does buying a ticket into Golden Dome actually deliver better protection, or does it simply make Canada a bigger target? For many Canadians, the offer is a lose-lose scenario. Pay an exorbitant fee to join an American-led arms race, or accept political absorption into a country that dwarfs it by population and economy, a prospect that shakes the very foundations of Canadian identity. But there's another layer to this dilemma. Nations like China are already sounding the alarm. The Golden Dome violates the principle that no country's security should come at the expense of others, declared Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning. Her warning cuts to the heart of the international backlash. By fortifying its skies, is North America inadvertently destabilizing the rest of the world? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Every new technology in defense prompts a countermeasure. Space-based interceptors? Expect adversaries to develop stealthier missiles, decoy clouds, or even anti-satellite weapons. The resulting arms race could see trillions spent not on health or infrastructure, but on weaponizing the heavens. And what about alternatives? Some experts argue Canada could take a different path, investing in innovative, non-nuclear technologies like directed energy weapons, or doubling down on NORAD's proven capabilities. Others urge a more diplomatic approach, strengthening alliances and arms control agreements instead of racing to outgun rivals. Yet time is running out. As Arctic routes open and missile technologies advance, Canada faces a crossroads. Pay up, sign up, or risk being left behind in the defense revolution of the 21st century. So, here's the burning question. Is this a genuine offer of partnership, a financial shakedown, or a high-stakes geopolitical gambit? Could Canada retain its sovereignty and still achieve cutting-edge security? Or is the choice between paying the price and becoming a target, or paying nothing and becoming something else entirely? As the world watches, the answer could change not just maps and military budgets, but the very identity of a nation. What happens next could set a precedent for how smaller countries navigate the era of mega-alliances and weaponized technology. But is merging with a superpower ever truly free? And what price is too high for peace and independence? In the next part, we'll dissect potential scenarios, from a new era of North American unity to the specter of a high-tech arms race in space, and the alternative strategies still open to Canada. Stay tuned. So, let's imagine what could actually happen next. Trump's proposal has thrown a diplomatic firecracker into North American security politics. Even though Ottawa hasn't made an official reply, closed-door talks are already underway. The stakes couldn't be higher: $61 billion versus a nation's sovereignty, and the ever-present backdrop of global security anxiety. First, what are the most realistic scenarios? There are 3 main paths. Canada outright refuses. Canada pays up and joins the Golden Dome on its own terms. Or, in a wildly unexpected twist, Canada agrees to statehood. Let's break those down. First, the most likely. Canada says no to both the fee and the dramatic offer of U.S. statehood. In this scenario, Canada doubles down on existing alliances, NATO, NORAD, and perhaps accelerates its own investments. Remember, Canada just signed a $6 billion deal for a new Arctic radar system with Australia, signaling it's willing to spend big on independent defense. Ottawa could also ramp up its participation in joint technology projects, think hypersonic missile detection, or even directed energy weapons. But there's a catch. Refusing the Golden Dome exposes Canada to new risks. If the U.S. moves ahead and deploys missile shields on the border, it could unintentionally create defense gaps right over Canada. The expert Alistair Edgar points out, There's real danger of Canada becoming the soft underbelly, an unprotected zone between two fortified regions. In the age of hypersonic threats, that's a chilling thought. The second scenario, Canada pays the $61 billion and negotiates terms to maintain full sovereignty, joining the Golden Dome system as a paying partner. This would spark furious debate inside Canada. Critics would label it an expensive surrender to U.S. demands, while supporters would argue that Canada, with its vast territory and immense northern approaches, can't afford to be left out. Strategically, it would bind the two countries even closer, but at a steep financial and political cost. Such a move would also demand that Canada upgrade its own defense infrastructure, and would likely provoke an urgent debate over the militarization of space. And then, that third, almost unthinkable scenario, Canada agrees to statehood. On its surface, it sounds far-fetched, almost laughable. Yet history is full of surprises. Imagine the domino effect. Instant free access to the Golden Dome, a voice in the Senate and House, but at the cost of dissolving one of the world's most distinctive independent nations. The public outcry would be massive. Quebec separatism could flare again. Would any government even survive proposing such a move? There's also a darker scenario lurking. If Canada refuses Golden Dome access, and the U.S. forges ahead regardless, it could spark an arms race above our heads. Alistair Edgar's warning on militarizing space is echoed by voices from China to the European Union. As China's foreign ministry put it, no country's security should come at the expense of others. If the Golden Dome gets built with or without Canada, expect rivals like China and Russia to deploy countermeasures, hypersonic missiles, decoys, even anti-satellite weapons. The result? A less stable, more expensive global security environment, draining resources from education, health, and climate priorities. But there's another twist. Some experts see an opportunity for Canada to shape the future. By joining the Golden Dome as a partner rather than a passive client or a U.S. state, Canada could secure influence over new defense technologies, especially in the emerging arena of directed energy weapons and space-based sensors. Ottawa could leverage its unique Arctic geography and scientific talent, not just as a buyer, but as a co-innovator. The promise? Not just protection, but an outsized role in defining tomorrow's defense technologies. Now let's address the practical question. What does all this mean for Canadians, and for anyone watching this wherever you are? First, it's a wake-up call. The missile defense debate isn't just about rockets and radars. It's about how nations make existential choices on sovereignty, security, and shared values. For Canadians, the Golden Dome question exposes a historic crossroads. Continue as a middle power with deep ties to the U.S. but independent voice, or leap toward closer integration, gambling on security at the cost of autonomy. For everyday viewers, it's a lesson in how high diplomacy and new technologies can shift the ground beneath our feet, sometimes overnight. The Golden Dome is more than a dome. It's a symbol of a new era, where alliances and global threats move faster than politics can keep up. It's also a lesson on the costs of defense. Choices aren't just between spending and saving, but between different visions of safety, national, continental, or global. And there's another angle, the arms race in space. Most people still think of war in terms of boots on the ground, ships at sea, or jets flying overhead. But the real action, the future battles, may happen silently, hundreds of kilometers above us. It's satellites, lasers, and cyber weapons. The militarization of space isn't science fiction, it's now. So if you're a student, a policymaker, or just a curious citizen, here's what you can do. Stay informed. Don't let political theater distract you from what's really at stake: sovereignty, autonomy, and the future of peace. Speak up. These decisions are never made in a vacuum. Public debate, protests, journalism, all shape the choices leaders make behind closed doors. Follow the money. When billions are committed to defense projects, there are always trade-offs. Ask yourself and your leaders, what's being sacrificed? Think globally. Whether you live in Toronto or Tokyo, Washington or Warsaw, the dominoes of missile defense fall worldwide. Today's shield can become tomorrow's arms race. And here's a secret fact. According to a leaked Congressional Budget Office memo, the real lifetime cost of the space-based Golden Dome system could exceed $500 billion, nearly triple the public estimate. That means Canadians and Americans would be footing a bill for generations. Few politicians dare to mention this publicly. As we close, let's answer the big question. What could actually play out, and what are the lasting consequences? Despite Trump's dramatic offer, it's almost certain Canada won't surrender its autonomy for a place as the 51st state. But the real pressure point, joining as a partner or being left outside and exposed, is genuine. The next months will be decisive. Canada could negotiate a bespoke partnership, preserving sovereignty while gaining some shield, but at tremendous cost. Or it could risk being a blind spot in North American defenses, with all the consequences that entails. For global stability, the risk of a new arms race is real, and so is the possibility that technological advances like directed energy weapons will leapfrog current defense paradigms, upending strategies overnight. The world is watching. Will Canada set a new template for sovereign, peaceful security partnerships? Or will it be forced into a high-stakes technological gamble? One thing's for sure, the next moves will echo for decades, shaping not just Canada and the US, but the entire global order. The lesson? Security, sovereignty, and technology are more intertwined than ever, and ordinary people have a stake in every decision. If you found this breakdown insightful, subscribe and share your thoughts below. Should Canada pay, partner, or say no? And what would your country do in the same position? Drop your comments.